challenging climb in the worlds of Watopia.
It certainly is, Nathan, and it's going to provide so much entertainment. It's going to be exciting, and it's so close in those standings. I really think those tactics of the riders and how they're going to ride this one is going to be crucial. But of course, this isn't a race like what we saw on the opener, on the sprint championship, where you could ride it very savvy. You had to be very astute in your
inte så många som kör idag faktiskt.
Det kändes som en liten grupp.
Races and make it into that final race on the Glasgow Crit Circuit. This is also one where physically you need to be in top shape. And so even if you see a rival go up the road, if you can't respond physically, that's it. That could be a big change in this championship. So it's close. It's going to be a real thriller. And I think as well for those riders who haven't done the previous 2 weekends of racing, how is that going to change everything for those who are fighting for that overall?
That's a really good point, actually. There may be some riders, for those that have watched the first 2 of this championship, first 2 races, that they might not know. And it's a little bit of surprises out there for some of the other riders as well. Illy Gardner not participating in the first 2, but being hands down one of the strongest climbers, not only in Zwift, but in the world. She owns so many Queens on the Mountains, actually. She essentially is a hunter when it comes down to taking down climbs like this. I think everybody is thinking about her, as well as Sandrine Etienne, who dominated in the Zwift Grand Prix up to the top of this climb specifically, who they let go early on, maybe not thinking that she was as much of a factor, Hannah, as she ended up being in that race.
I agree totally, Nathan. I really think that during that Zwift Grand Prix, everyone really underestimated the French woman Sandrine Etienne, and they didn't know what to expect of her. And so today, I think she's certainly going to be a marked rider. But again, Sandrine Etienne, she hasn't raced the previous 2 weekends, so it's going to be a very different proposition if she's allowed up the road. Perhaps those in the top of the standings, Kulczynski, Führer, maybe they'll be happy to let her go, and because it's really going to come down to those riders looking for those points in the championship, making sure that they don't blow up on this climb up to the Alpe de Zwift. And when you take a look at the top left of our screen, Nathan, it's very different to 1 week ago, where they had a very long race in that epic, over 80 kilometers of racing. And you look at what we've got today, and 15.2 kilometers remaining, and you think, wow, it's a short race. But don't underestimate the Alpe de Zwift.
It's a great point, actually, as far as the difference between last week and this week. Last week, you had a lot of fatigue setting into the legs over time. And a lot of the reports, actually, from the ladies was cramps later on in the race and, the fatigue that had set in. This is a very different proposition. Essentially, you're riding to the bottom of a climb and then tactically taking it on as hard as you possibly can without going up and getting rid of your rivals.
Nu är jag tillbaka. Jag blev
Essentially get to
utkastad
set
från
up
någon konstig anledning.
perfectly for an all-out power smash fest. Who can essentially throw that left hand, right hand hook at the exact right time while putting everybody on the ropes?
Certainly, and you've got this 5.1 kilometer run into the bottom of the Alpe de Zwift, and so you can already see the pace that is being set. It is slightly downhill. You can see just that speed, and you can see in the top right hand corner of the screen the gradient -2%, -3%.
little bit. We have seen riders maybe try, yesterday at least, we saw a couple of riders maybe trying to get away a little bit to give themselves a little bit of extra breathing room on the climb, but didn't end up going much of anywhere. Well, it looks like we are taking a look at Pure right now, and we did have a chance to have a conversation with her to ask her about how things have been going throughout the series.
Oh, the epic race last week was amazing. It was just from start to the finish, exciting race for me. I haven't been racing such a long race, so I didn't know really what to expect. So I expected worse, that it's going to be a hard race with lots of attacks, lots of team tactics, which didn't seem. It went this way, so I could save my legs for the last time, which I really love, and I could just smash it up all the way to the finish line. So I knew at the finish line or 100 meters before that I'm going to win. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about this one. The Road to Sky is actually a route I haven't been racing so much, like all the other ones in Watopia, so I'm looking forward to this one. There are so many strong climbers out there, so I'm surely not the best climber, so my skills are not in climbing, but I try to do my best to go these 45 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever it will be, up there and do some damage control.
Well, it looks like the damage control is going to start at this moment as the riders are starting to get into the climb officially here. This first little kick here into 10% gradient and 9%, 10% as you can see with Joanna Tidholm and Illy Gardner immediately making her way to the front of the pack. Hannah, this initial kick here of 10%, quite the gradient right off the bat, and it does tend to cause a whole lot of separation right from the get-go.
And you're already seeing, Nathan, riders being distanced. Cat Ridgway just being shot out the back there, the British rider, and several more riders. One of the riders there from Movistar just getting distanced. And so Sophie Wright also is being dropped currently for Phoenix de Koning. And so, you know, this is, it's a ferocious start to the bottom of the Alp. And, you know, we're talking about that right-hand turn, riders wanting to make sure they're up in position. You can just see there, Gardner just setting her own pace. Sandrine Etienne is there, Bates is there. You know, sitting within the top 10, it's all of those big favourites. As we take a look on the left-hand side, the Wahoo overall live leaderboard currently. Garrett with 290, Lou Bates 289 as it currently stands. Quite like this live virtual standings.
Yeah, they're really good. I absolutely love it, and it's going to give us an idea throughout the entirety of this climb exactly how things stand as it works out on course. As we saw yesterday, we could work the numbers out live as it was playing out in front of us. Now, Tilly Field, it looks like here hammering away around the back of the pack here, as it's just going to be about holding on to your own pace to the top of this climb. Now at this point, we're looking at right as well there on the left hand side of your screen is going to be the live cam coming in from her. I want to chat real quickly here with Martin Martins about the lower sections of this climb, because this pace is absolutely frenetic right now. Martin, what is going on in the riders' heads at this moment? Like, what could the tactic be with the way that they're starting to ride this at such a high, insane pace?
To the first hairpin, the climb is always pretty hard. People start out pretty hard, some start too hard. What Illy Gardner is doing here, she's just blasting it from the bottom. But on the other hand, you see someone like Fura, she's just really trying to pace it, I think. And yeah, it's always the first hairpin is like a sprint race.
And so, I mean, is it important to, I mean, with the way that Illy is riding this, I mean, she's at 6.7 watts per kilogram or so at this moment. I'm seeing 6.168. I mean, she is absolutely smashing this right from the get-go. She seems to be in another world. I mean, she is on another planet right now already as far as watts per kilogram. And to try and follow this at this point with already 8 seconds on the board, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, it's a risk, isn't it, Martin, to try and go with something like this? I mean, if you do hold on to that wheel, great, but what is the cost, right? And you could find yourself in a really bad situation or a really great situation. There's so much risk reward, isn't there, here, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. But the girls have now lost her wheel, so she's off. They need to work together now to get some kind of draft of each other, at least a little bit of draft that is there on that gradient, and try to roll her in. She's front loading it. She will be probably fading or trying to pace it at some point, but yeah, they need to work together now.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, and just from your experience, I remember on your Zwift Grand Prix race, it was like this, but there were points up for grabs. There's no points up for grabs through this section of course, and it's almost like they're riding it the same way, though, with this intensity up front. And what, from your experience, you were kind of in that second or third pack at that moment, I think, and then followed wheels rather than making that initial attack.
Yeah, I watched guys I know that can climb the way I climb, so I tried to be around them. And they did about the same, so that was good. And I think some people like Lou and Gabby are doing that at the moment as well. They know they climb about at the same pace, so they want to work together for now, and then they will just hammer it later in the race.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, thanks so much, Martin. Now, as we get into this, Emma Belforth now starting to do what Emma Belforth does, and we saw this from her as well. We could see a 1-2 go here as Belforth continues on pushing the pace at the front, because we know she can hold a crazy high threshold, can't she, Hannah?
She certainly can. She certainly can. And we saw that in the opening weekend where she completely dominated the first two races. She almost made it a hat trick of wins on that opening night in the sprint championship on the Glasgow crit circuit, but was caught in the closing few hundred meters. I just want to give a little update. I was just keeping an eye on the standings there of where some of our top favourites are for the Alpe de Zwift, Nathan, while you were having a chat there with Martin Martens. Katrin Fuhrer is at 47 seconds behind our lone leader, Eilidh Gardner, but up ahead, a further 25 seconds, is Kristen Kulczynski. She's alongside Gabriela Guerra. Also there is Sandrine Etienne. Belforth a couple of seconds ahead of that. So our current leader in the overall standings, the Swiss woman from Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, is currently in a lot of difficulty. And could she be losing this overall in this gold jersey?
Yeah, it's a good question here. Looking down the field, and I believe Katrin Fuhrer at this moment outside of the top 10, even top 12. So it's going to be a tough one for her to bring back that time. It did look like right from the get-go, she was like, I got to ride my own pace. And her hopes are in that riders up ahead blow up and go backwards and lose enough places. And that's what we saw yesterday from Josh Harris. We did see him trying to, as well as Thomas Thrall, trying to take back as much of that damage that had been done by Freddie Ovitt, unable to do so, obviously, here. So now today we're going to see a similar situation, I think, from the current leader to try and minimize the damage later on after these ladies get further up the road here, because it's going to be all about taking back places to see how many riders up ahead have just gone way too hard.
And I think it's all about pacing, isn't it, Nathan? I mean, you also don't want to underpace this and have something left in the tank by the top. And having seen your rivals gain a lead, and in the end you realise perhaps I was, maybe not taking the risk that I needed to. But equally, that being said, on the other hand, you don't want to overpace this, Nathan, and completely blow up in the final couple of kilometres, because 10 kilometres remain here. So much can happen, and we're seeing riders spread all across the Alp here. And so if you go over your limits and you go into that red zone, it's going to be incredibly difficult, if nigh on impossible, to recover from that. So it's all about pacing. I think it's all about maybe splitting the Alp into different segments, different sections, almost breaking it up so you're not seeing 12.2 kilometers, the 21 hairpins. you maybe breaking it up mentally just
Tillbaka
for
igen. Jag verkar falla ut lite då och då.
release to say, okay, well, we've got the first part out of the way.
Det är
Okay,
tur att det är hos dig det är
let's,
problem.
let's focus on the middle section,
Ja.
and then let's focus
Ja, jag
on
sa
that
precis att det går
final,
jättebra för Gabriella. Hon låg
few
ju
kilometers.
nu
And
och
so
9 i totalen.
it's really
Ja,
interesting.
jag
It's
ser det.
interesting to see how
Det är
different
grymt.
riders approach
Ja,
the,
så att det är
the
bara att
Alp.
gneta på i
But
din
the gap
din
coming
takt.
down due to the impetus in that
Försöka
chasing
hitta
group of
ryggar,
Belfort.
för det är lite partier här där det är
28
2-3 watt.
Sorry, it just gained a few
Yeah,
more seconds.
mid-draft.
Sorry, Bates at 29.
Så att,
Also,
Svängarna är det
Söderström
ofta.
is
Platta till lite. Man
just get a
kan få
time check on
lite draghjälp.
the Swiss woman. She's at 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Yeah, and now the placings, though, as you can see, Catherine is making her way up the leaderboard a little bit. So she is picking riders off one by one. And so, you know, that could be, right, that could be something that in your head you start thinking about the time gap rather than the placings. But in her mind, I think she's just going to be thinking person after person. Each person that I pick off
det är som sagt
takes
Gabriella
points away
Guerra och Lou
from those
Bates
that
som
are
fightas
up the
om
road
första
now at
platsen.
this point. So every single one of those is going to be someone that she's just going to try and time it just right and just try and, you know, it's going to be this marker for her, the next one and the next one. And by the end, she may be able to pick off enough riders between herself and those leaders to bring back
Jag
those
har ju
points. Right now,
anledningen
we're only
och
looking at a
pumpa på.
287
Hon
and a
ligger femma nu
292.
precis.
It's not a
Gått
whole
om
lot of points in between.
Emma.
I think we also
Nu
have to
fightas de om
remember that
plats 5
Krista
och 6.
Kuczynski and Katrin Führer, they're teammates on the Virginia's Blue Ridge 2014. And so for them, if they can try and have two riders on the podium of the overall, and you look at those live standings currently, Kuczynski and Führer, they're on the same points at the moment, 287 points. If Führer can start to make her way and of course, like what you just said, Nathan, pick off a few
Det ser
more
jättebra
riders,
ut.
move up those standings, and likewise with Kuczynski here, what a performance that would be from the long-standing American team.
100%, and I think that may
Det är
be
likadana
a
tröjor som
tactic
kommer
here.
åka
Now,
med.
one thing
Ja,
Kristen definitely
jag får
can
hjälps
do
åt.
is just beat
I bredd
these
så här.
other riders. That is one thing that she, as long as she takes those points away by getting the best of these other riders, the job is done, and she's also been successful for herself. So I think the first go at all this is going to be about just taking as many points away from these riders as she can while having the greatest
där har du
success
3
for the
watt i
team at
draft
the
om du
same
lägger
time.
efter de
At the
där
other
4
end of
watt.
it though too is that if she does get dropped from this pack, a big question mark is, does she go ahead and still beat Catherine? Because if so, there's a point. It's
10
no
watt.
longer for
Så att
Catherine.
det finns vissa partier där det är lite,
Yeah, it's
lite mer
really
hjälp.
true, and I
14
think
watt.
there's a lot of calculations going on here, and I think this is really where
Ja, bra.
the
16 watt.
sports
Det var bra
directors,
ställe
the
att
team
drafta på.
managers in the ear of the rider on their various
De här tre är bra att slå.
apps of
Särskilt Jenny och
communication is
För ni
going to
ligger
be
väldigt nära
crucial,
varandra i
Nathan.
totalen.
And I think, you know, that could
Mm.
make the big difference of those final standings, and particularly the podium placings. We just saw in
Det är Jenny
picture
du
in
vill slå.
picture, Eilidh Gardner, Lou Bates, two riders from Great Britain, two excellent climbers, two
Jenny,
very,
de är
very
samma.
different styles. And I was keeping an eye on Eilidh Gardner's RPM. She was around 73, 74 revs per minute, whereas Lou Bates, she was really spinning that high cadence, spinning the gear around 95, 96, 97 revolutions per minute. So very different styles. It's just really interesting to see how the riders have those varying different preferences, but how and what works for each rider.
Yeah, you can see Eilidh Gardner up and out of the saddle over and over again and getting back into the rhythm. So experienced when it comes to this. Now, as Eilidh here, the avatar, flying up here, 9% gradient she's on. She's coming into turn 13 now at this moment. And the rest of the riders are still on this section. This is one of the longer sections of road that you'll see between the turns and the switchbacks, actually. Now, real quickly, I am seeing a couple of questions in chat about data and things across the board. So let's have a quick little chat about the race dashboard. Just as a reminder that our race dashboard is running again for these climb championships. You can fire up the dashboard by pasting the link on screen into your browser or clicking on the link in the chat. And just a reminder that it works best on Chrome. So let's quickly explain how it works. You'll see 3 columns in there. The left-hand column is going to show you groups on the road. A group will start when there is a gap of 3 or more seconds. For each group, you can see the number of riders in that group and the average speed and watts per kilogram of all the riders in the group. You'll also be able to see the time gaps and distance on the road between each group. This is going to be super useful for keeping track of the race and where everyone is on the road when things start to break up. In the middle column, you'll be able to see which riders are in each group and all their stats. Riders in each group are ordered by bib number, so they don't jump around the screen. You can use the arrows at the bottom to toggle through all of the riders and groups in the field. This will allow you to follow your favorite rider in detail throughout the race. Then on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the live camera feed from our riders to watch. If you need any help navigating the dashboard, you can also find a handy guide on how it works by clicking the little question mark icon on the bottom right-hand screen. So, race dashboard, I've been using it. Hannah, I absolutely love the race dashboard actually because I'm able to go through the entirety of the field and find out exactly where everybody is at and figure out what is happening with my favorite riders.
I totally agree, Nathan. And not only that, with the dashboard, being able to see riders on the right-hand side racing. And so you can see them putting in that effort, then you can look across at the riders, see their data, and it's fascinating.
It really is. And now we see Illy Gardner now taking on the next turn, getting that speed up a little bit. Let's have a quick chat here with Martin. I want to talk a little bit about the way that he rides the Alpe de Zwift when it comes to the switchbacks, because we're talking a lot about the switchbacks, what turns they're on. They're almost about halfway up the climb now at this point, and how we're seeing these little accelerations. When is it best to accelerate? How do you take on the turns? Do you focus on the turns? Do you focus on the steep gradients? Do you focus on both? Because it's definitely not just tactical, but there's a skill to this kind of a climb.
Yeah, you can use the turns to get up speed, to carry that speed in the next turn. And yeah, you need to, when it flattens out, you need to get on a little push, put a bit more power on the pedals, get up to speed. Then you can ease off that little bit during the actual hairpin, and then you need to get back and put on the power once it kicks up again.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're with a group, the idea of being with them and all together kind of accelerating that speed, it definitely can cause some damage to the riders who are starting to fall off. Can it, Martin?
Yeah, don't think, okay, it's going to flatten out, I can go easy because you already see the turn. You need to push into the turn, be in the middle of the group ideally, and then you can ease a little bit in the hairpin, but it's very dangerous, like you said, to lose a wheel there.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then also with the speeds here, as far as pack dynamics and how it works.
Hon låg ju redan före i totalen, så att det gör inget att hon åkte om. Det är den där Jenny Ek vi skulle vilja kunna
it really matters. Do you feel that in game when you're on a wheel, even though you're going uphill? There's a little bit of draft, isn't there, Martin?
För det är henne, om man åker förbi Jenny, då åker man upp en hel del placeringar.
The group size was bigger than in the Grand Prix. The power numbers were about the same in watts per kilogram. But the times were even faster than in the Grand Prix.
Howlingens rygg. Har du 4 watt i draft där?
Gotcha. Well, speaking of group size, things are starting to get hot here in the group that is trying to chase down Illy Gardner. The moves are starting to be made here. Belfort just continues to go crazy hard into these steep sections. And then when it levels off, she just backs off a little bit, it seems like, and then back up again. She just seems to be consistently, though, same pace, 5 watts per kilogram, maybe 5.5. Heart rate's coming up, though, for all the riders, it looks like to me, up into the 180s, though, for all of them here. Hannah, I think the attacks are really starting to come on here for this second group.
It is, and they're realizing that if they can try and work together in sort of inverted commas, then it adds to their benefit, Nathan. And now Fura into 10th place currently in those standings at 2 minutes and 19 in arrears to Illy Gardner, but it's so close, and I keep having my eye over that live standings on the left-hand side and seeing the way that Fura has paced this well, and I think she hasn't gone over her limit, and she's moved herself up the standings slowly but surely, and now moving herself up into second overall, 1 point behind Guerra. She's also got someone to chase here. She's got a rider in her sights. It's that character chase, isn't it? And that always works in the favour of someone who is chasing as opposed to being chased. So, you know, if she only has to overtake these two riders ahead, and she'll be back in the lead of the standings. And I have to say, chapeau to this ride. This is a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Katrin Fura, having won the previous 2 weekends, and then coming into this as the overall leader. You know, it's a big prize at stake. You've got the $10,000 prize money. You've got the Wahoo kicker, the gold Wahoo kicker bike. It's a lot to lose. It's a lot to risk.
It really is, and you can see here, these two riders, there's going to be a ton of motivation for her at this point to take down these two riders. Gabriela Guerra now up ahead, though, moving to Belfort's wheel to make sure it looks like that is not going to happen. Look at the points changing time and time over and over again here with each and every time that you see one rider overtaken by the current overall leader, then Guerra going by another rider, taking back that overall leaderboard. It's still all to play for as we get into this second half of the climb now at this point. They're already coming into turn number 9 momentarily now at this point. 9 to go, 9 turns to go for the decision-making moments here. Illy Gardner still your leader, though, out on she's actually already into turn number 8. So starting to distance herself on the switchbacks to pure climber. Bottom to top, we talk about this. Can somebody go bottom to top? Well, she's proven that it's possible.
She has, and you know, I'm very, very sure that she'll be wanting to try and go for her PB. Let's not forget, 38 minutes and 21 seconds. Current timing, 27 minutes and 15 seconds. So can she top that in the closing kilometres? It will be big, difficult ask. And of course, she's not in the running for that overall championship. Kolczynski in that blue jersey as the leader of the ride-ons from last week is being distanced in the gap. 7 seconds now to the duo who are in that chasing group of Belfort and Guerra.
As you can see, the ride-on cutoff there just coming in. 5 minutes to get your ride-ons in, and Kolczynski currently sitting with 295 ride-ons. I have a feeling she's most likely going to take that competition down again. We'll see if she can do so, and it's up to you, though. If you want to give a ride-on to your favorite riders, go ahead and open up your companion app. You got 4.5 minutes to do so to add to their current live count. Out there is Illy Gardner sitting there at 127 on the live counter. Looks like 67 to Belfort, 147 to Guerra, and Kolczynski at almost 300 now at this point. Going to be a tough one. It's going to be like catching Illy Gardner if you want to try and catch Kolczynski on the ride-on bombs today, isn't it?
It's changing every time you've just been talking, Nathan, keeping an eye on that. From under 300, now 303 ride-ons, 304. What a fan base. She really is, you know, one of the...
Ja, nu, det är stark. Det är bara en kilometer kvar nu.
Within the community, within esports, and you know, it's really showing. But I have to say, for all of you watching from around the world, 137 ride-ons for Illy Gardner, the Welsh rider, a climber who is currently leading up to the Alpe Zwift on the road to Skye. She certainly deserves a lot more ride-ons here. Show the support. Guerra with 153 too.
And now it is the battle here between these two. It's Belfort versus Guerra here at this point. And Belfort now 4.8, 5.3. Now back to Illy Gardner at the front of the race. This is your top 3 overall at this moment. Belfort is going again, it looks like. Man, this is just non-stop action at the front of this race. But Gardner now, she's just going to continue to do her thing. She essentially just showed up for work today and said, okay, this is my usual 9 to 5, and we're going to take it down now here. And it looks like she's got this one in the bag. Just a few more turns. Well, it's still about 7 more turns to go. There's a long stretch, actually, through this snow section before it really starts to kick up into the final turns, Hannah. But it looks like Illy is just, the predictions were right, and she definitely seems to have this one done and dusted.
It's interesting, isn't it, in terms of the tactic coming into the Zwift Games, and we know in week one, Nathan, that some riders were suffering from illness. They couldn't race in the sprint championship, and of course it was a huge shame for those who had really been targeting the Zwift Games. For others, I wonder how much they really pinpointed the races that they wanted to do. So for Illy Gardner, she really had the climb championship in the forefront of her mind. She knew she could be one of the most dominant riders here. And so because she's out of the overall championship, she's not got that battle with the other riders. And so at the moment, heads and shoulders above and stronger than the others at the moment. And she's really just showing her prowess whenever the road starts to climb.
100%. Well, as we look at Gardner here, still steady. I think she's just gotten into her own rhythm at the front now. Steady 5.8 watts per kilogram. Absolutely insane pace. Now back to Lou Bates here. Now currently third overall on the virtual leaderboard. Still battling though. Good to see Bates here. And I think Bates here has, she does have Kolchinski up ahead. And if Kolchinski, continues to come backwards, Bates could find herself in fourth place overall on the day. I'm not sure that may move her up or not between her and Catherine Furr, only by 1 point, but still for pride out here today for sure for Bates as she continues on. And anything can still happen though, with plenty of climbing still to go.
It seems as though Bates is starting to fade, and she's been losing time to Kolchinski over the last 600-700 meters or so. The thing that she really needs to be wary of is Ola Kulinic of Phoenix to Koenig, the Ukrainian rider who is sitting in 6th place overall at the moment. Because if Bates starts to lose a lot of time and really has overreached herself, and then Kulinic catches her, Bates may start to fall down the standings and lose that position. She's still got a couple of points separating herself and Kolchinski, but she really needs to just pay attention to those who are behind.
100%. Still looking at Gardner here. Now back to Kolchinski here as she's going to win the Ride On jersey out here today. 365 Ride Ons for Kristen Kolchinski as she takes down that Ride On jersey again. Still fighting out there today, though. Kristen Kolchinski, 35 seconds from the Belforth and Guerra group as she takes down that Ride On jersey. Thanks to everybody logging into the companion app and handing those out to her, as she has been the winner of that competition all the way throughout today. We are getting into this back end section of the climb here into turns 6, 5, 4, and on turn 6 now, it does look like Belforth has put the hurt on. Real quickly, though, Ride-Ons here, Kristen here, 365. Really close, though. Holly Bergen was right there at 358. We thought it'd be impossible, but no. Bergen right there, Eck there coming in for third for the Ride-Ons, Hannah.
Yeah, fantastic to see all the support from the community for all of our races tonight. And I have to say, on such a difficult, demanding, physically tough climb here on the Alpe d'Huez, seeing those ride-ins drop in and you can see who is giving you those ride-ons, it's just those little bits of dopamine, isn't it? It's that little bit of encouragement, it's that motivation on the climb, and certainly may take away a little bit of the pain, but it also shows the support.
Yeah, it does. And it does look to me like Belforth has distanced herself from Guerra now at this point. And at the moment that happened, Kristen Kolchinski actually pulled out of the race, it looks like. And so at this moment here, it is tied on screen, but I have a feeling that is going to completely change the entirety of the standings now at this point, as Furr has moved up to 8th place out on course from what I can see.
Yeah, it's looking...
We're not pulled out of the race. Stop pedaling. Excuse me. She disappeared from my screen for a moment, and now she's on screen again, so she stopped pedaling, though, at this point.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Kristen Kolchinski has had a problem, a technical problem here. And this would be absolutely heartbreaking for the rider from the USA.
Ja, jag tittar ju på en helt annan
no, Illy Gardner here now to the front, 5.7 watts per kilogram from Gardner. She continues at the front end. Belforth now looking to try and come across. Not going to be happening. 1:10 though is the gap, and it looks like a minute 29. Garrett still fighting for that third place overall. Belforth though distancing herself from Garrett. 5.7, 4.6. She's really done the work, Belforth, here as she continues on. You see her sitting down, changing up her style a little bit. She had been standing almost the entirety of this time up until now, and now as she comes around that corner at that 9%, up and out of the saddle again as Belforth now continues on toward that second place overall. Now it looks like Klein and Furrer. I'm seeing behind here. Look at here real quick, Hannah. Kristen Kolchinski, Julia Klein, Catherine Furrer, and Stephanie Sidlick all together here at this point. You can see the time gaps there, 3:41, 3:42, 3:43, Sidlick, 3:46. There's a pack here behind. Gara in no man's land here, all in her lonesome, 1:36 back from Illy Gardner. Lou Bates now 2:30 back, so there's about a 40-second difference between them. So that's your top 3 to 4 at this point, but then it's going to be Kulinich there behind in 5th, then the 6th to 9th place are all together, and that is a huge difference maker, that group right there, with the current overall leader in the championship there.
It's going to be huge, Nathan. It really is. And when you see you've got those 4 riders all together, the positioning of where Katrin Furrer comes within those 4 riders, because even a little further behind, Mika Söderström is not too distant from that group either. And so if they start to lose time, or if Söderström has still got something left in the tank, it adds a 5th rider into the mix, into that group. And so where Furrer finishes within that quartet currently is going to be the
Verkar som Kulczynski har
win the overall championship, or she's going to
nu.
finish on the podium here. And so crucially, the calculations will be made, I'm sure, at the moment from those sports directors. And if the riders have got that, did I just see the Yeti on the left? Or am I seeing things?
Did we see the Yeti? That's the section, of course. I may have missed it there as well. And I always wonder if it actually exists, because everyone's like, there's the Yeti, there's the Yeti. Oh, the Yeti's here. And I'm like, where's the Yeti? Where? I always tend to miss it. I feel like it's this mythical, you have to have special lenses to see the Yeti, it seems to me. But I guess it was there. I want to bring in Martin Martins real quickly here as we're into the final couple of turns here for a quick little conversation. First and foremost, Martin, have you seen the Yeti? Because I didn't see anything just now, but Hannah says she saw it on that turn.
I saw it the first time today.
Extra kvar nu bara.
But riding, I don't see it. Like you, I think, will there be the Yeti somewhere? And once I'm past that point, I never see it.
Yeah, isn't that interesting out there? How when you're head down, just doing your best you possibly can, it's really difficult to pick up any kind of scenery besides the road and the wheels that are ahead of you. Now, we've gotten to a situation where we've got a top 3 separated now at this point by over a minute 54 here is the lead up to our leader, Illy Gardner. But Belforth here about a minute 18 back from there. And then we've got third place with Gara. Bates chasing with 50 seconds. But a lot can still happen. I mean, if you really blow up in the latter halves of this race, you can completely go backwards, can't you, Martin?
Yeah, the climb can get so long if you got bad legs on that point. You can probably the last 3 hairpins take longer than the rest of the race. And yeah, we will see here, but I don't think that some of those top 3 will crack like that. They got some good constant power on there. So yeah, the race will be now for the overall, and that's going to be very, very, very tight. And nice to see Kulczynski drop back to Furrer to help her, because I think she didn't sense that she can get into those top 3, so she dropped back to help her teammate and get her teammate that overall.
Yeah, and it looks like the pacing is there, and that's exactly what is going to happen out here. It's going to be a 1-point difference, and Kolczynski currently is that, chasing down Stephanie Sidlick actually out there. That would be a 2-point difference if they are able to make the catch here. But all Kolczynski has to do at that moment is sit up, and they just need to not be caught by any riders behind, which it looks to me at this moment like that is exactly what may be happening, as long as Furrer can hang on to Kolczynski's wheel to the top now. As you look at Captain Furrer here, this is going to be taking the rounds though at the top here. I believe that's going to be Gardner with coming into the final couple turns now at this point.
Yeah, I'm glad we've got Mad Mantons with us here, Nathan, because Kristen Kolczynski was, she sat up. I could see her on her camera inside her pain cave, and I was thinking, this is heartbreaking. Great teamwork. I really have to doff my cap to her, and what she's doing here, pacing Katrine Furrer back up, just making sure she's looking after her, having that team support, that moral support, giving her that motivation and encouragement at the moment. And as Martin said, all she needs to do, Kolczynski, is to allow Furrer to overtake her come the finish line, and it'll be 1-point difference as it stands currently in those live standings. And I think when the road, and I've started to notice here, when the road starts to really rise and we start to see some steeper gradients, that's when Furrer starts to lose the wheel of Kolczynski. But she stays within herself. She doesn't overreach. She doesn't go over her limits. And now we're on to this section here where it's a little bit more of a, let's say, steadier gradient. And she's right back onto the wheel. She is about to come up to the American Stephanie Sidlick. So that'll be another rider to overtake and another point gained.
Yeah, it would be interesting if they can overtake Sidlick here now at this point. I mean, Sidlick really well known for her climbing. And I mean, this is really a standout ride from Furrer. This is absolutely amazing what she is doing out here today on Kolczynski's wheel. Obviously, the motivation is there. The heart rates have to be through the roof. I mean, and she's right there. I mean, as you can see, Gardner here onto the final turn, the last couple of times over the top. This is going to be your winner now. We focused a lot on the overall championship here at this point, but what a ride from Illy Gardner. I mean, this has been, and essentially, when you're this good and you just go from the bottom to the top, it kind of just becomes this, the story is written the moment that she started to ride away, and that's how good she is, that she can write the book before you even think about finishing it. She is already done.
Yeah, we're almost into the final chapter, aren't we? Now it's just the conclusion of the story. 198 beats per minute. She's been keeping a consistent watts per kilogram, 6 watts per kilogram, 6.2 watts per kilogram, and another little injection of pace from the British rider, 80 revolutions per minute, and still, Nathan, 21 kilometers per hour at the moment on this climb. She's flying.
Det är intressant nu för att
She is, and this is going to be the final 300 meters for Illy Gardner, the queen of the mountain out here for sure, the queen of the mountain in real life as well as here out on this Alpe du Zwift right now. It's going to be Belfort now at 132 back from her, so she has put her stamp on this one with Gardner rounding out this final little bump at 7.3 watts per kilogram for Illy Gardner, as she's going to take it down for Wahoo Lacole. And I'd like to know what her average is out here today, because it's been absolutely insane.
Phenomenal performance by Illy Gardner. What a way to come into the Zwift Games on the climb, the road to Sky on the Alpe du Zwift, and take the win by such a considerable margin. Terrific performance.
Now, Gara here in third place here, 235 back from that, battling still to hold on to that third place overall. It's going to be Emma Belfort, though, that has continued on already into the final turn, as it's Gara here now losing, though, that 1 point to Furrer. as she looks to try and battle to the top. Guerra here now still going to put everything down, though, it looks like, as she's up and out of the saddle. 279 watts for a kick at 178 beats per minute, but could not hold on to that kick from Belfort as Belfort continues on at 6.5 watts per kilogram ahead.
Battling on. It's been such a close race all the way in this Wahoo overall leaderboard. We've been following it closely. Guerra, she's not giving in though, all the way to the top. And Führer, just take a look at the stats side by side here at the moment. Guerra, 310 watts at the moment, 5.5 watts per kilogram. Führer at 5.3 watts per kilogram. It's going to be a matter of a couple of points in it.
Now Belfort, amazing ride here from Belfort to the top as she goes and takes down that second place overall in this climb today. And that will put her in currently 5th place overall in the standings for the Wahoo overall live leaderboard. Now Guerra to take down 3rd place here, as she can just make her way to the line. But you've got to pedal every last pedal stroke, don't you? And it's still extremely painful, the kind of efforts that these riders now are having to put out here to make it to the line. And as you can see here, Bates here ramping things up into 5.7 watts per kilogram, 5.6. She's got her still. Actually, you can probably see her a little bit on course here. So Bates here with a second wind of effort as she starts to kick on to try and chase down Guerra. And this is going to be your 3rd and 4th out on course as Guerra makes one last kick to the line. Tried to hang on to Belfort's wheel. Probably a little bit of energy zapped from the legs because of that final kick to try and hang on to Belfort. But it's going to be 3rd, it looks like, for Guerra at a 6.7 final little 342 just to stomp on the pedals to the line.
Yeah, all the way, and I think, you know, it's always been a brave effort up here, and I said earlier on, it's not just a tactical play out that we've seen in the terms of, you know, perhaps Kulczynski and Führer, but physically it's so demanding. And, you know, for Belfort, when she made that initial acceleration, it was one in which, you know, nobody could hang on to the wheel of the Swedish rider, and so almost a minute and 20 seconds between Belfort and Guerra. Guerra taking 3rd on the climb up to the Alpe Zwift. Bates is looking like she'll hold on for the 4th place, and it's all going to be the battle behind, because Sidlik is 13 seconds in arrears of Führer and Kulczynski at the moment. It's going to be a big ask to try and close the gap to those two.
Yeah, and I believe Kulczynski's going to sit up here, so it's going to actually be 2 points of the difference here now at this point. It looks like Bates, though, going to be taking down 4th place overall. Solid ride here coming in for Lou Bates. That'll give her 3rd overall on the overall standings, depending on how things end up playing out for everybody behind. Mika may be able to make her way up if she's able to catch Klein, perhaps, as we are seeing the point differentiation between her and, well, actually, no, that Mika there at 286. It looks like maybe Bates is going to take that 3rd overall for the Wahoo Live leaderboard. But now here's Führer, your current overall leader, and it looks like it's all but said and done for Catherine Führer. She's going to take down the Wahoo overall live leaderboard, and that will be the championship solidified by 2 points as she crosses the line in just a moment. Just a few more pedal strokes to take it down.
And 8 seconds separate Führer and Kulinic of Phoenix to Koenig. The Ukrainian rider is empty in the tank. It's going to be, I think, too late for Führer to make the catch, but she's got that carrot in front of her. She's got something to chase. She's in that gold jersey. She's on the gold Tron Z1 bike. And at the moment, as it currently stands, she's going to take home the Wahoo Kicker bike, the gold limited edition. Only one in the world for the women.
Kulczynski now crossing the line, taking down, it looks like 7th place on the day, and that will be 6th place overall. Stephanie Sidlik now coming through for 8th place at a solid time. Getting some amazing times coming through here, actually. I can see them on mine. Emma Belfort with a 38.51. I was seeing Guerra there at a 40.08. Bates at a 41.01. Top times. Gardner was so fast, I don't have a listing actually for her at this moment. I think she was in the 37s. That's crazy fast. 37-minute Alpe d'Huez. Absolutely flying. Now Klein here making her way to the top here for that. What place? Should we round it out? The 9th place overall. 5:53, almost 6 back from your leader. Now Miki Soderstrom here making her way to the top, and she was tied for 2nd overall coming in here. She's gonna, it looks like, be able to take down 4th overall just behind Lou Bates. Lou Bates making her way up the leaderboard with an amazing effort out there today. As Mika, though, one of your top riders, she took down a lot of top spots actually throughout the championships. It's been amazing to see Mika and the kick that she has, and what a ride for her to ride into the top 10 actually in this race out here today, being known for the sprinting that she has and the punchiness that she has. Great ride coming in from her. Now it's going to be Sandrine Etienne coming to the top here now, a past winner on the Alpe d'Huez as she makes her way to the line. Hannah, amazing rides all around. Is Natalie Stevenson here going to be your top 12 riders? Looks like nobody around her.
Yeah, his ride is scattered all over the Alpe d'Huez, and a tremendous ride there by the Frenchwoman Sandrine Etienne to cross the line. 11th place on the night, 6 minutes and 43 seconds in arrears to Illy Gardner. And of course, she knew this climb well from when she took that victory in the Zwift Grand Prix during the winter months. And Natalie Stevenson, the Scottish rider, just coming towards the line. There's Aitken going to hold on for 13th place by the looks of it. Here's our Finnish woman who we highlighted at the top of the show, Jenny Ek. Take a look at the time gaps that have opened up, Nathan, on this climb. This has been a demanding, physically tough finale to the Zwift Games.
Yeah, and it does look like Gabriella Norden here making her way to the top. And that's a good point. The reality of when you get into a climb like this, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. When you get into stage racing and GC contention, the reality of when you hit the climbs, it completely opens everything up, isn't it? Why are we so patient? We ask a lot of times, at least people who are maybe a little more unfamiliar with GC contention. Why is everybody so patient? Why are they letting riders go? Why is this not as contended for? Because they know it's all going to come down to this climb. We can see the big changes here in the overalls at this point amongst the ladies, specifically because of this climb, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we see the Norwegian Nevin come to the line. Cole has been a real protagonist in my opinion. And I really think, Nathan, I don't know about you, but I think Cole has made a big step up over the last 3 weekends. The way that she's raced, her physical ability, her performance, tactically how she's raced. I think we've seen some real brilliant performances, but something going into the future and future racing where riders can take a lot of confidence from how they've performed over the last 3 weekends.
Kraus now making away the line. Liz Van Houweling as
well. Det var
jättespännande. Zwift racing. You can see
grymt kört. Topp 10. Det är fantastiskt.
Liz Van Houweling for 20th overall here.
Det var mitt mål. Jag tänkte, kan jag komma topp 10 totalt så är jag nöjd.
We can see though the overall board here really
det är fantastiskt med tanke på att det var så otroligt olika bantyper och så här. Och liksom att kunna hålla hög klass i alla discipliner.
The Canadian, this is a really a rider who's popped up on the radar recently. Lucy Collins for a while ago, but Tiffany Penner right behind her. She has just always
Emma Belfort kom tvåa.
For these results out here. I'm really excited to see where this rider is going to go in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like what I was just saying a few moments ago, Nathan. We've started to see names who were in the races, they were on the radar, but some who have really made a big step up. They've stamped their authority.
Men herrarna har det lite tuffare. Men jag tycker Johan och flera, de gjorde en jättebra insats igår. Men
ja, verkligen.
Vi gör ju väldigt starka insatser.